And we're going to talk a little bit about a Microsoft vulnerability.
A Windows vulnerability.
And this is like a flashback in itself.
It is actually. So back in 1997, a researcher discovered that you could, if you put in to certain programs URLs that said file : / so normally you put in http : / whatever for a web type thing. But if you put in file : / and then some address for something, what that would do is it would make notably Internet Explorer, which is the one you would worry about most, but there's a lot of other things like Adobe Flash, other types of apps that can handle URLs, reach out to that address using SMB. And when it does that, your device is automatically going to pass your username, your domain name, I think, and your password hash. So here's the vulnerability, is that if you can either become man in the middle of some conversation, you don't even necessarily need to do that. You could craft some malicious websites or do some drive-by type of things where if you have control of a malicious server, user goes to a website that maybe goes to get a GIF image or something, that malicious website that maybe an attacker controls responds with a 302 redirect that says, no, it's here, it's at file : / blah, 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 which is also a malicious SMB server that he controls. Now the client victim machine connects to that, he passes his password hash and whatever to it. That machine would just harvest those together for later password cracking, that he could try to crack those passwords. Really, the GIF angle is a probably good one as an example, because those are things that you can bury in image type tags that might not even be visible to the user, except it'll just show up as like a broken image or something on the web page that they go to visit. And maybe not even that if you make it a like 1x1 pixel or smaller type of image. So they mentioned that there's the typical scenarios for abuse are in targeted attacks. They might try to do these types of things, malicious ads, which we kind of alluded to with images and whatnot. And Wi-Fi access points. So similar to your ping of death that you were talking about with the Darwin nuke there, if you're on a Wi-Fi access point, it's really easy to intercept or inject yourself into conversations on open Wi-Fi access points, or an attacker, I should say, can kind of get into the conversations with other users on that Wi-Fi and then leverage this type of attack. This is just a quick list of lots of widely used applications that are vulnerable to this, handling these file URLs and performing this behavior if they're past one of these. So Adobe Reader, big one. Most important one, probably Internet Explorer, Windows Media Player. Those ones are really the Internet Explorer. Although Excel also, and a bunch of other applications here.
And that's simply the fact that they honor the file : /
Right. So if they receive that in some other content like HTTP or whatever, they'll honor that and try to reach out to it.
Is that because you're using the Windows libraries that support that functionality?
I didn't get that deep into it. It could be very well that that's why that is, but I'm not quite sure why each application, if it's some common library function or not. From a mitigation standpoint, the easiest option probably is to try to block outbound 139 TCP and 445 TCP. You can do that either at your endpoint firewall. Of course, that'll prevent you from using SMB at all, to even like stuff on your trusted network. But probably more practically is to block it in your network firewall, assuming you've got a trusted network that you're on. That's not going to help you at a Wi-Fi access point. So if you're on a Wi-Fi access point, only the endpoint firewall would really protect you from this until it gets patched. So it's been around since 1997. It was identified. These guys kind of flipped the script on a little bit, kind of explored it a little bit more in depth, and have put together a really good white paper on how you can leverage this in various different types of attack scenarios. So it's an interesting read. It's something I hadn't really thought about. It's one of those simple things that, gee, I never thought about that. That makes sense that this would work.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's a matter of, this is a case of creative thinking that's been sort of, the problem's been kind of hanging out there, and it was a matter of getting noticed.
Right.
And so I agree with you. I think from an enterprise point of view, you certainly can block it at the perimeter. It's good practice anyway, because there are a lot of other things that have traditionally been problematic about SMB. So, that would be the recommended approach. I guess I'm wondering to what extent that it's practical, if you know where your file servers are within your enterprise even, I think the endpoint firewall would be perhaps a practical way where you put some specific roles in place.
Right. You could probably block everything, but allow certain, file servers that you always use all the time.
Right.
Kind of thing.
So that might be, even if you just kind of allocate it to the data centers that you know about and address blocks associated with those, it'd still at least close down the attack purview significantly.
Right.